Welcome to the Charron Zone. I am here with the ultimate songwriter, Mr. Brent Baxter. How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing well, thanks. You've already made my head explode by calling me an ultimate songwriter. So you've already thrown me, but thank you. It's early. Let me take another cup of coffee and just simmer in that for a second.
There you go. So Brent is a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, Randy Travis, Lonestar, Buddy Jewell. I could go on all day because the list goes on.
There are at least one or two more. There's at least one or two more. I always leave like one or two off just so you can say and more and leave it to people's imagination.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Very, very accomplished. Yeah, and we met. I was attending a songwriting symposium. How's that for a word? Symposium.
That's a fancy word.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Brent was speaking at that. So let's talk about what do you have going on right now that you're working on that you're excited about?
Yeah. So it's been interesting the last year or two. So I've cut my teeth on country music, and that's still a lot of what I write. But the past year or two, I've been writing more Southern gospel stuff. Just doors have opened up in that world. I have more to say in that world, in that area anyway. And so I've been writing with people in that world, and that's fun. We're just coming off a #1 in Southern, which is fun. A song called Can I Get a Witness, recorded by The Sound. So it was their first #1. And I have one climbing up the charts right now, a song called Hallelujah Homecoming by Wilburn and Wilburn. And so that's fun to, have song on the charts and just, that whole game, but going, oh, I wonder what it's going to do. So watching that one, which is fun, and then just, writing with some artists that I'm excited about, that they're excited about the songs, all that stuff that you don't want to jinx too much. But, that stuff. So, yeah, just writing. And it's been fun. I've really enjoyed the past probably 2 years diversifying my writing more than probably ever, which is fun and keeps it interesting. So I've been writing more like country, bluegrass, Southern gospel, some CCM, just based on who's in the room with me that day and what the relationships are and the opportunities and stuff. But mainly those three, and some comedy, working on some of that stuff lately.
Comedy.
So it's been really fun. Yeah. So there's a project out there trying to get on. So it's been fun to just keep it revolving and not do the same thing over and over again. So that's been fun. That's been exciting lately.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm a huge fangirl of comedy and comedians.
Yeah.
I just it's one of those things kind of like sports. I'm a huge sports fan as well, but I don't know if it seems like musicians always want to either be an athlete or a comedian, and I kind of want to be both. I want to be an athletic comedian.
So just, you just pick like 3 of the hardest things to be successful in. That's fine.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's your backup plan.
Exactly.
Oh, well, the music thing, well, if not, I'll just either turn pro or be a comedian.
Right.
Just as backup. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. I had a friend that tried to be a comedian once.
Once.
Yeah. It was painful. And I decided then I will just be a fan of comedians for the rest of my life.
I will just try to make people laugh in the writer's room and, just in social events. That's fun. No pressure. They aren't all staring at me going, okay, be funny, funny boy. Yep. That's no.
Yeah. And we write songs, of course, but for me, the idea of sitting down and writing jokes is terrifying. And then having to get up there in front of everybody and say, okay, here's my little joke.
Yeah, this is going to make you laugh. You can't fake funny. And I think that's true in music. It's true in comedy. You can kind of fake sentimentality, nostalgia, sadness, heartache. You can, people give you more of a pass. But if you're trying to be funny, it's just not funny. It's just not funny. There's really no pity laughs. It's just kind of just not funny.
Well, that's a great point. It's also similar to performing. You can't fake the reaction of a crowd.
Yeah.
It's either great or it's crickets.
Yeah. So I agree. I think there's a lot of overlap in comedy and and songwriting or performing. I'm sure you've watched the Jerry Seinfeld, documentaries on Netflix and different stuff. And,
Yeah, love it.
it just, and probably, comedians in cars getting coffee. I've
Yes.
watched several of those, and I love that stuff because it's adjacent to what I do. Talking about the business and jokes and how they're put together. I mean, because it's wordsmithing. I'm a lyricist by trade, so it's that same kind of thing of trying to get the language just right and the wording. I mean, I was doing dad jokes before they were called dad jokes. I was, in junior high doing, back when we just called them like corny puns. And that was my thing. It's like whether I get a laugh or whether I get a groan, it doesn't matter to me as long as it's a reaction.
As long as you get something,
I'm good with either one. I get an eye roll like, oh, that was so bad. I'm like, that is just as pleasing to me as somebody laughing.
Which is funny too.
In the middle.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not in the middle, I'm good.
Yeah.
But one, compelling, one way or the other, I'm like, I got a reaction. I'm good with that.
All right. So, I'm sorry. I was going to say favorite comedian.
Man, I don't watch a lot of comedians. I just have to say Seinfeld. He's like the one. Well, in high school, I saw Carrot Top. He came to my hometown, and that was amazing. Saw Henry Cho around the same time. It was like my senior year. And then the only other time I've seen like a comedian like in person, I think doing stand up was Seinfeld when he came to Nashville.
Oh, cool.
Several years ago.
Nice.
It was like right after the flood, and it was raining that night. So of course his first joke was like, "I'm surprised anyone's out. First drop of rain. I'm surprised you didn't, stall ahead for the hills." So I don't get out to go see that stuff a lot. But,
yeah.
Probably Seinfeld.
I would suggest to everyone listening and watching, Bill Burr. Bill Burr is just a monster, and of course Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is just he's he's just a comedy genius.
I know a guy that I like a lot. Nate Bargatze.
Oh, yeah?
He lives in Nashville.
Really?
Yeah. And so he's a Nashville guy, and he's funny. He had a special on Netflix, I believe. Nate Bargatze.
Bargatze?
Yeah. And he's really funny. He's really deadpan, and he's my wife watches a whole lot more Netflix and everything than I do because I'm usually working at night and different stuff. She has a little more time to chill, and so she'll turn me on to some stuff. But yeah, we really liked him, and I just love it's the observational aspect of it that's like songwriting. Just find those little, that's I think the stuff that really lights you up about comedians, and they're different kinds. There are people that just totally are fanciful and make up these worlds, whatever, and these characters. Others just find the stuff in real life, the little things, the little details that like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not the only one that thinks that. And it's the same thing as songwriters. That's what we want to do, right? We want to say the stuff and point out the stuff that we've all been walking over every day, and nobody's put it that way or shined a light on that or let us go, oh, okay, it's not just me. Because that's part of what's funny is when it's true.
Yeah. And I like that parallel. The parallel between as a songwriter, you're trying to observe throughout your day and grab a phrase or an idea and hurry up and put it down on your phone. And I can just imagine that's exactly what comedians are doing. They're going through their day and they're like, observing, and then they're listening to people or watching people, and they get an idea for a joke and they have to hurry up and write it down on their phone or send themselves a voice memo, So it's
parallels. I remember this episode of Seinfeld where it was in the episode, it was in the show, but it really happened. He'd woken up in the middle of the night, and finally he'd been working on this joke, and finally he figured out the exact way to say it. Like, I got how to say it, like how to bring it. And he wrote it down, but it was so messy because it was in the middle of the night, or he spilled something on, and the whole episode was them trying to figure out what that piece of paper said. I can relate. Like, oh, you just got the wording just right, just to make it land just how you want it to, and then I lost it, and that's so frustrating. Have you heard I think it was in one of the Seinfeld documentaries about the calendar, the wall calendar, and the X's? Have you heard that?
No.
Oh, you're gonna love this. This is great because this is also great songwriting advice. So when he was coming up and he was trying to get the deal going, he bought a big wall calendar, and he said, every day I wrote a joke, I put an X on the calendar, put a big red X.
Okay, yeah.
And I just try not to break the chain. I just try to write a joke every day, good,
Every
bad,
single.
whatever. Just try to write a joke every day, and if you break the chain, next day try to start a new chain. And so, just simple advice. But I mean, I don't know. I'll turn my thing over there. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see a little bit of a wall calendar over there with several colors on it. And so that's what I use. I have a wall calendar that there are certain things that I want to do every day or every work day. And so I mark it on the calendar, and I look over there, and it makes me mad when I look over and there's colors missing off the calendar. So I can't
So
go back and get it.
So for everybody listening, Brent is showing he has all these plaques for his accomplishments in the music business behind him, and then off to the side in his office he has a is that like a kind of like
It's
a
like a
whiteboard?
laminated whole year at a glance wall calendar, little box for every day. And so what I do is I have different color, markers over by my desk. And so I have different colors set up for a certain number of contacts in the music business in a day. Because basically, for songwriting, there's you got to it starts with a song, but it's got to continue with the relationship kind of thing. You got to have a certain amount of contacts and relationships, and that can be easy to do when the world's on lockdown, or I'm just sitting in a room writing and that kind of thing. So I do a certain number of things going, okay, I need to have like 10 touches a day of text and email, something reaching out to somebody in the business, or us writing a song will get it done, or having them on the Climb podcast as a guest. That's, a lot of FaceTime, or a bunch of just kind of pinging people. Could be following up
Pinging
about a
people.
co-write or something, just to get my name out there, and not asking for stuff, but just, letting people know, hey, what's
Absolutely.
up? Just thinking about you. And if I get that, I get a certain color mark on my calendar. If I write for the day, do some creative work, that gets a color. If I do my Bible study and stuff, that gets a color, and that exercise, and so
Yep.
these things I want to do. And so it's just a constant reminder, because it gives you that good feeling to walk over there and got that color on the day, and it's going to stay there. I did the thing for the day, and then when you miss one, it ticks you off because you can't go back and get that color back on there. And
Yeah,
I
and
see it every day. It's right on my desk. And
you're using your own competitiveness with yourself. I like that. This is like music business gold, and this is one reason why I love doing this podcast and listening to other people's podcasts. And we'll talk about your podcast as well. But these are the things that I love to talk about, because most people don't talk about it. Most people don't talk about the day-to-day things that you can set up to further your business. And that one's great. And I just moved 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be setting up my studio, and I'm absolutely going to use that exact concept.
Yeah, man, I just, ordered it off Amazon, just,
Yep.
laminated year at a glance wall calendar, and just turned it, it's horizontal on one side, vertical on the other. I just turned it the right way that fits in my office, and then just got a bunch of, markers, dry erase markers or whatever, just different colors. And I have a little thing, so I know what color goes with what, and I'm just trying to make that sucker colorful. It's like if I
Yeah.
just get in the process and do the stuff every day, the ball's going to move forward.
Yep. And it's a great concept if you want to advance in anything. The best thing, in my opinion, is to touch it every day. Just touch it every day. Like, you don't have to. I think a lot of us, myself included, you want to do something, but it seems like such an insurmountable goal, and you think in your head, well, I have to practice 7 hours a day, and then that just kind of turns you off. I taught myself how to play guitar and sing at the same time by doing exactly that. I just made a commitment with myself that every single day when I wake up, I was going to play one song, 2.5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't break that chain. I just every single day, and then sometimes it would turn into 2 hours. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
But just picking it up and playing a song. Have you heard of the book Atomic Habits by
no, I
James
have
Clear?
not.
Okay, I'm gonna hold it up here so the people watching on video can see it. So I just read this recently. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And
James.
atomic meaning James Clear, as in see right through it.
Okay.
Clear. And so it's, tiny changes, remarkable results. Atomic meaning the small unit, atoms. And so it sounds like you were doing some of the stuff he talks about in that book without, already
Mm-hmm.
about not going, okay, I want to learn to play and sing at the same time, 4 hours a day, knock this out. And who's going to do that?
Right.
Right? It's not going to happen. Or you just be like, I don't have a 4-hour block today, so I'm not even doing it. But
Yeah,
instead,
and we're all adults, so to have 4 hours straight a day,
yeah,
it's
no,
pretty tough.
no, we don't.
Yeah.
But one song, okay, that's manageable. And one thing they talk about in the book, it's not about accomplishing, it's about becoming. You became a person who picks up his guitar and plays every day. It's your identity. With the writing and the stuff I'm putting on my board, it's like, well, I'm becoming a person that opens his Bible every day, or I'm becoming a person that writes every day. I'm becoming a person that does this or that every day. It's the identity, and you have to take on that identity really before you can get the accomplishments or the success or whatever. It's a deeper level. And another thing he talks about is, start off with a small unit of habit. A habit cannot be improved until it is established. So, you started the habit of, I'm going to pick up the guitar and play a song a day. Small habit. Not going to change your life by itself. If you just did one song a day, it would take a really long time to get proficient. But then you can improve upon that.
Right.
Then,
and the better
some
you
days
get,
30 minutes, some days are an hour,
Yeah.
some days are just the one song, but I'm becoming the person that shows up, for my guitar every day. And I imagine your guitar wasn't hidden away in a closet somewhere. It's probably, well, I'm going to get to it every day. I'm going to leave it where I can see it.
That's why I always teach people that the most valuable piece of musical equipment I ever bought was a guitar stand. And put that guitar stand with a guitar right
brilliant.
next to my futon at the time. And I had just moved then, and I literally had a futon, a coffee table, and a mattress. That was my furniture in my apartment, and it was Spartan, so I could not walk through my apartment without seeing that guitar and it reminding me, like, you can't have it in the closet, you can't have it in the spare room, you can't have it in the garage.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. What a great way to put it is the guitar stand, because that's another thing in the book, but it's just common sense. If you want to make your good habits easy, enjoyable, visible, and so you make it visible. And the other thing is, you make your bad habits invisible, difficult, not enjoyable. And so if the thing is, gosh, I come home from work and I eat on the couch, I flip on TV, and I watch whatever. And the next thing I know, it's like, I didn't really pick up the guitar today out of my closet. Okay, maybe what you need to do is, when you're not watching TV, unplug it, or just put the remote control, in a drawer somewhere where it's not right there sitting on the couch. Every time you sit down, it's like, oh, it's right there. And then bring your guitar out and buy that, guitar stand, set it right by the couch, so the guitar becomes an easier reach than the remote control. Things like that are simple things. He tells a story about, he used to buy apples, and then they would all go bad. They'd be in the crisper, in the fridge, and then they'd go bad, and he's throwing them out. But he's like, I want to eat apples. I want to be, healthy, make healthy choices. And he bought like a $5 bowl, little display bowl, put it on the counter, put the apples in it. He started eating apples. Why? They were there, visible. You think about it, out of sight, out of mind.
Whatever's immediate is going to have an impact. And so it's so important.
Little things.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's so important that you consciously choose those things that are right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Because in the long run, it can completely change your life.
Yeah.
Just having the guitar stand, having the guitar, next to your bed. I did that for a long time for songwriting purposes, because I tend to somehow have a tendency to have ideas come out when I'm waking up.
Oh, so, yeah, a lot of people that way. Yeah, you're kind of subconscious in your little dreamy state and that kind of stuff, and your head's not all full of junk yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm. This will kind of transition nicely right into your coaching and your podcast. But I'm also a big believer in. So you mentioned something about this earlier too. Deliberately surrounding yourself with things that I don't know, motivate you, or I'm not really sure exactly the word, but surrounding yourself with things. And I'm also a big believer in the media that you consume should be very conscious. In other
Yeah.
words, I read a ton, and I'm as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to order that book.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to read, things that songwriting books. I'm always, constantly watching YouTube videos and podcasts of things, success related, music related, of course, songwriting related, anything that, can help me instead of,
Yeah.
it's instead of watching the news,
Yeah.
it's not going to
I
help
have
you.
I have certain like news podcasts I listen to some when I'm working. Um, but I don't watch much of anything. Of course, listening to music is a different kind of thing as, recreation, because it's also research and inspiration, it's all that stuff. But as far as TV and stuff, I just don't watch much because I don't have much time. My day is from, we get the kids up and off to school, and then I work from 8 till about 3 o'clock when it's time to go pick them up. And so get the kids
So,
back, and then I'm on dad time until some nights, like Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday are my work nights because I didn't get it quite a full day in, with them getting off from school. Then I'll go back and I'll work for a couple more hours. But it's like I'm on kid time or work time, and other than a little bit of football,
yeah.
I don't watch much unless it's like family time. We're watching a movie, and then we're watching Disney stuff or whatever, and
Yep.
that's fine. Or hopefully every once in a while I'll have date night with my wife, and we'll watch a little something or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we basically haven't had TV in
Mhm.
years, many
Yeah,
years. And it's the greatest thing because then you can, like I said, you can deliberately, I'm a big fan of putting things up around in your office
Mhm.
or in your studio, putting up, whatever it may be, people that you look up to or admire that you want to, follow in their footsteps, things
Mhm.
like that. I wanted to ask you if we could just, for people that, maybe don't know what a professional writer,
Mhm.
what their day looks like, because you said, you work from this time to this time.
Mhm.
Is that, what does that look like?
Yeah. So my day is probably built. Everyone has their own thing, right? Everyone has their own kind of schedule. There are two big things that feed my family. That's songwriting and Songwriting Pro. So Songwriting Pro is a website. I have a membership site. It's basically the goal of Songwriting Pro is to help songwriters turn pro by teaching them how to write like a pro, how to do business like a pro, and I connect them to the pros. So putting together events, doing workshops, recording the Climb Show Music Business podcast. So that's CLIMB with the dots in between because it's an acronym, because I love acronyms, and it stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. So I do coaching.
Nice.
Yes, I love acronyms. Um, so that takes up, a good amount of my time. And then the other time is writing. And so it just depends on the day. Some days I'm getting up, I'm putting together a blog post or, doing that or sharing some stuff around on social media because that's part of, the Songwriting Pro thing. You can't help people if they don't know you exist. And then we'll hop on a co-write. These days it's a lot of Zoom writes and do that for a few hours, then hop back off and either reach out to people about demos or setting up future co-writes or just pinging people, checking up on stuff, and then doing more Songwriting Pro stuff. Maybe I'll have a coaching session that night or an event that night or something like that, which is pretty much all online. I was doing Zoom before the world was doing Zoom,
Oh yeah. Yeah, me too.
and so that's it's kind of a mix. So every day is a little bit different. Today I'm recording a podcast with you in the morning, and then when that's done, I have some song feedbacks to do. I'm definitely going to do some writing today. Um, follow up on some demo stuff. And so just a mix of stuff. And it's the beauty and the challenge of it, because, even if you have a publisher, no one, like, I don't have a time card. I don't have to go punch in anywhere. If you're smart, you treat it like a business, because if you don't treat it like a business, it's never going to be your business. If you
Yeah,
don't
you're not
treat it
going to
like
have
profession,
a
you're not
deal
gonna be
for
pro.
a long time, right?
Exactly. So, I've just been starting building in more and more kind of processes, and because I geek out on that kind of stuff. So, to try and make it as, uncertainty leads to inactivity. Like, I'm not really sure what to do, so I'll just check my email again, or I'll hop on TikTok, or I'll hop
I'm
on
guilty of that.
YouTube, or whatever. I'm
That
not really
happens
sure
to me
what to
every
do
day.
next. Right, because what do we do today? Well, I could do so many things, right? Because I'm making this up as I go, in a sense. And so it's like, I need some directions to keep me focused, because when I'm not really sure what to do, I tend not to do much of anything. I just kind of float around. So, and I've noticed that, like, I don't know, recently I was not happy with how much I'd been writing. A lot of songwriting pro takes up, a good amount of time, which I enjoy that. It helps feed my family. And, some songwriters go and they play out and they play live shows and they do that. And, in addition to like earning royalties and that kind of stuff. So altogether, you kind of cobble this living together. Well, for me, it's the coaching and the teaching stuff, because I don't play out. I'm lyricist, and that just suits my skill set better to do podcast and teaching. But I was like, man, I'm not, and I'm writing more, but then I'm not taking these songs to completion, meaning getting them done and pitched. Like, what kind of falls through the cracks for me might be some of the song plugging, meaning for, no listener left behind, meaning actually presenting my songs to people in the business who can record them, to artists, to producers, to labels, because I write them with the goal most times of getting them recorded and out there, and there we go, feed my family and, ego boost, to be honest. So I was like, I'm writing these things, but what am I doing with them? Because you end up, you're probably like me, you have a bunch of songs that are kind of half finished or almost finished, 98% of the way there, or like, it was good. Do I need to demo it? Do I not? Or I got the demo. Have I pitched it? And so I started to steal from the name of the podcast, instituting climb time on a daily basis, which is going, okay, creating leverage in the music business. What are the things I need to do? I need to, and I have a little habit tracker book, so I'm totally geeking out on this. And so I write down things that, and I mark them off in my habit tracker book. But like, I need to write every day. I have it under record, but it's basically taking songs to completion. So it could be, we need to finish the song, or I need to get a work tape of it, or, hey, we need to decide whether or not we need to demo this. Mm-hmm. Yes or no. And if it's no, then it's done and it's complete. It's like, just one in the stack. Or if we do need to demo it, we need to work consistently to get the demo done. And then when it's done, it moves to another point, which is pitch. I need to be doing some sort of pitch activity on a regular basis. It could be connecting with somebody, or it could actually be sending them a song. Mm-hmm. Either one, it's in that world. And then the other is access, because write, record, access, and pitch. Those are like the four things. If you want to be a pro, you got to do. It's got to be done by you or somebody. If you have a publisher, they're working a lot of it. But really, most of us are independent, so I got to be writing. And it doesn't matter how much I write if it's not recorded where someone can hear it. Mm-hmm. And who's going to hear it? Well, I got to access the people that can do something about it. Mm-hmm. And then I actually have to pitch it.
I have so many questions.
Those are the things. And so I've started going, okay, this is my climb time. And so it's going, okay, my writing time might be, it might be 10, 20 minutes sometimes. And I try to do that even if I have a co-write going. This is developing ideas, solo writing, rewriting, that kind of stuff, that making time for those smaller chunks to fill the well, but also to cap off some songs. And then recording, I have a project management system that I'm using to go, okay, here are the songs that have started, I need to finish, and I'm moving them over until they're done and ready to pitch. And in my online database where I store all my songs so I can pitch them, and am I pitching, and and trying to just mark these things off, because if I stay on all four of things consistently, if you trust the process, then good things are going to happen.
I have so many questions.
Yes.
Do you do you Do you always co-write, or do you solo write too?
Well, as a lyricist, eventually I'm going to have to finish a song. I need to bring in a co-writer.
Okay.
Because I'm not a professional grade melody writer. But with that being said, I also do a lot of solo writing. So my daily kind of writing activity is something I call the personal song title challenge. And this came from the podcast where a listener, we call them climbers, had written in on a review and challenged me and Johnny, my co-host, to actually write a song on the podcast. Well, Johnny's not a writer. He's a music marketer and stuff, and he used to be a frontman of a band, but he's not a writer. And I'm like, well, that'd be really boring to listen. You know, you've written, right? There's a lot of silence and a lot of staring and a lot of like, this is not really a spectator sport.
A lot of
a lot of let me go get another coffee. You know, but we thought, what can we do? So, well, how about if we have some climbers send in a title, and then Johnny springs it on me live on the air, and then we riff on it for like 20 minutes about how can we write this? You know, what can we do with this title? And because that's one of my strengths as a writer, you know, taking titles and figuring out what to do with them. And it's fun. It's a puzzle. It's a game. And so we started this thing called Song Title Challenge, which we do every other Friday. So, and it's legit. Like climbers email titles to Johnny, and he sits on them until we hit record, and he's like, all right, here's a title. So I have no idea what's coming. And then we just like, okay, how can we write that? Well, you know, and that's fun. And so many times you'd start off with this title that at first you're like, oh gosh, what are we going to do with that? Or that's boring, or I don't know, you know. So that's when I choose to write. But then like 10 minutes into it, you're going, oh my gosh, we can do this. And then you're fired up about it. Man, you know, I wish I could write these, but these aren't my titles. You know, we do it for the climbers, like education, entertainment, inspiration. I'm not going to go write these songs. But I said, man, I need to do this with my own titles, because I've got a hookbook, you know, a list of unwritten titles. I've got over 4,000 of them. You know, I've been keeping them for like 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't do quality control on the way on the list. You know, everything goes on the list. If it pops into my head as a potential title, most of the time it ends up on the list. So there's a lot of junk on there, and a reason I haven't written most of these titles. But I said, okay, how can I do my own song title challenge with these? And it's like, well, what makes Song Title Challenge work is I don't pick the title. It's sprung on me, and then I only have to work on it for like 10, 20 minutes. I said, okay, so what I started doing is I have them all in a Word document. They're all numbered. And I just started at the beginning and said, okay, 1 through 20 from like 1994, you know, these titles. I got to pick one out of this 1 through 20 to riff on for like 10 minutes, and I'll set a timer. I'm just going to riff on it and see what I get in 10 minutes, you know, lyrical ideas, because that's what I do is lyrics. And I was amazed, just like the Song Title Challenge on the Climb podcast, how many of these, I mean, decades old long titles, like there was something there. Oh, and I've written a bunch of these and brought them in to co-writers. So I try to do one of those a day. For one thing, it builds that muscle. It's doing reps. I'm surprised how many, because, you know, I'm 10, 15, 20 years older, different life, different writer, music's different, stuff that maybe didn't make sense then. Now I can figure out what to do with it. I write in more genres that we talked about earlier, so I'm like, oh, maybe that didn't make sense because I was trying to make it a country song, but that totally makes sense as a Southern gospel thing. Now that I can think in those terms too, it's like, oh, it opens it up. And so I've taken so many of those into co-writes, and so I'm seeing results from it. So that's something I try to do every day to kind of, I don't even remember how we got on that topic.
It's okay.
But yeah, that's part of my writing process a day. And then, you know, that's just, it takes 15 minutes, you know, in the morning. That's part of my climb time. And then I may still, you know, then do full co-writes, or a lot of times I'll just, you know, the timer goes off. I just keep on going. Kind of like, you know, with you playing guitar, I'm going to go for minutes or an hour if I really get on something. And
yeah, once you get into that flow, sometimes it's easy to stop, sometimes it's not easy to stop, and then you forget to eat, and that's the nice stuff.
It's low pressure getting into it. I'm like, I just got to work on this for 10 minutes. If one of these, you know, if out of this 20, all these are bummers and nothing happens, that's fine. I'm done in 10 minutes. But I get to mark it off. I did my rep for the day.
Yep.
So it's no pressure versus sitting down and going, okay, I'm going to write a song. I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to work on this for like 3 hours. That's just a lot of pressure, right? Then you start looking over your list and trying to find the perfect one that immediately lights you up. But with so many of these, you find it a few minutes into it, or 10 minutes into it, or some days you just don't really find it. And you're like, all right, well, I did my deal. I'll show up again tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on average, how many songs a week do you complete?
Complete. Man, probably only a couple right now. So I'm not booked wall to wall. I'm trying to spend more time, I guess, this is the kind of quality versus quantity debate. I think in the beginning, quantity is much more important than as you get really good at it.
Because you're getting in shape.
You're getting in shape. You're just doing your reps. You're learning by doing. And then after a while, you're like, okay, I know how to write a song. I need to write the right ideas. And honestly, for a business perspective, be in the best rooms I can be in, whether virtually or in person, with the best writers that give us the best chance of success. So I may only have, 2 co-writes in a week right now, and it varies. And then I'll, some weeks I go, okay, this is the week I'm blowing it out. I'm having 5 or 6. It just kind of ebbs and flows. But trying to write every day, so when I come in, I'm figuring out my superpower and why people like to have me in the room, those that do, is because I bring ideas that are hopefully killer and appropriate for them. And
ideas are just
so important.
So important. They're just the gold.
Yeah, and so I want to be that guy. Like, what is my brand? What is my hook as a writer? Like, well, if I bring him an idea, he's going to know what to do with it lyrically. We'll figure it out. Or he's going to bring me great ideas.
Yeah.
And for most melody people, that's kind of what they're like. I've written the same thing, 3 times this week already. And so, all right, if I do my climb time, I'm going to have an embarrassment of riches of good ideas to bring in for different occasions and everything. And I will not show up going, I don't know. You got any ideas? No, I'm going to show up going, well, what are you looking for? Let me see what stack to pull from.
Yeah.
And not that we write my ideas all the time. A lot of times we don't. Especially if I'm writing with an artist. Hey, what are you feeling? Okay, let's do that. Or somebody that knows of, I got some intel that this kind of person that I can pitch to wants this kind of thing. Well, let's find that kind of thing. So we do a lot of that too. But I'm more up and running because I've been writing every day. So I can jump in. I'm good and I'm loose and I'm warmed up and I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna pull a muscle.
Yeah, you're in shape.
I'm in shape. So no matter how much I write, it's like I don't need another song. I need great songs. But again, I'm gonna write every day, so I'm building stuff to work on. But then it's like, okay, who am I getting in the room with that's gonna give us the best chance?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that for aspiring songwriters, that there's this balance between just writing on a consistent basis and not trying to be too perfect. And there's definitely a huge one of the biggest factors, at least I don't know, I believe, is self-editing. While you're actually writing, getting out of your own way is so important.
Yeah.
And that just maybe that, I don't know. You're the coach, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think I had a publisher tell me one time, and I was working at the publishing company, like in the admin office. I wasn't there as a writer. When I first moved to Nashville. But this piece of advice always stuck with me. He said, a lot of times writers will knock all the cool stuff off their song, all the edges off, all the rough edges off their song in the room because they're so worried about what radio will play, what radio won't play, that they knock all the cool edges off. And they bring me this really safe vanilla thing. He's like, I can't get that cut. Let me worry about that. I can always rein you in. If you go too far, let me worry about that. You just go be basically brilliant, creative, fearless, balls to the wall.
Fearless.
And let me worry about, okay, what are they going to do? Will they play this? Will they not? Hey, can you work that second verse where maybe he doesn't kill everybody or whatever, And I thought that was great advice. And another thing, we had I do these play for publisher events regularly, like every quarter over at Songwriting Pro, and we'll bring in a publisher. I gather songs from the community, and then we'll do a Zoom event where the 10 writers and the publisher get to sit down virtually, and I play all the songs, and he talks to the writers, and they get to connect and get feedback. And so it's a really cool event. And had one with Woody Bomar, and played in this good group of songs from the community, like all commercial, well crafted, and a lot of them he had the same kind of remark, like, yeah, this is good, this is well written, this is just as good as this type of song that's on the radio, but I can't get that cut. And you're like, okay, one of our astute members there was like, why? If it's just as good as this sort of thing, why can't you get it cut? And Woody's he's a pro. He's been in the business a long time, knows everybody. So it's not like he just can't get it to people. He's like, well, because that kind of thing, Thomas Rhett's going to write himself, or Luke Combs going to write himself. It's like, this is not different enough to beat what they're writing themselves.
And what's
just as good.
What's really important that people need to understand, if they don't, is that if Luke Combs is going to write it himself, and your song is just as good, he's gonna take his own song, because that's where the royalties are. So
that's where the royalties are, and that's where his personal story is, where he has more personal investment in that song, and little details that maybe apply to his life versus some in yours aren't quite
so
the
your
same.
song has to completely blow away the artist's song.
Yeah, or be something different that he didn't write, or she didn't write, or something said in a different way. If you just bring them, you're not going to make money importing sand to the beach.
Hey,
all day long, right?
Hold on, I got to write that down.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, they don't need your sand. If it's close, the tie goes to the relationships. Tie goes to their buddies, themselves, their producer, what they wrote. It's natural, because it's like, yeah, I have more affinity for this thing because I worked on it for hours, and I was picturing my wife or my girlfriend when I wrote it. And plus, it opens up this whole nother revenue stream for me. So if it's close, why wouldn't I do mine, right? Instead of versus this person that I don't know, or even their friend's song. Because, hey, it's a whole, I'm not in this position, but I know if I were an artist, it'd be a lot more fun to call my buddy up and go, dude, we just cut your song. It sounds great. And they're like, woo, let's go hang out later and celebrate, versus this other song that was just as good, but I don't know who cut it, so I don't get to make that phone call. Or I don't know who wrote it, so I don't get to make that phone call. It just it's a song.
It's so much.
Song,
everything is
call my buddy.
Yeah, everything is so much about connections. Connecting, being connected, and those connections. And I don't mean like so-called relationships, I should say.
And that's like any business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so Woody was talking about that, and he started pointing out some songs that he's like, they have to be different. They just have to be different, where it's not what they have all the time. And he pointed out songs like Kelsey Ballerini's Homecoming Queen, which I think she wrote, but it was different. Like, it's a different thing. Lee Brice, I Drive Your Truck.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see those driving, you don't see those every day on the row. How some of those other songs like, Follow Your Arrow, or Boy by Lee Brice as well. The House That Built Me, More Hearts Than Mine, was a recent hit, or Old Dominion's Written in the Stars. These songs that are just a little different, like written in a different way, or the lyrical perspective is different. It's like, it's one of those where there aren't a ton of those out there. Mm-hmm. And so therefore the artists probably like, well, I've written 5 of those, mm-hmm. or, I've gotten 100 of those to go through. And so that was just a good kind of recalibration, because looking over my own catalog on some of the stuff I've had cut, it's like, yeah, those are different. They're not the, they probably had a ton of these, like the Alan Jackson thing, Monday Morning Church. I mean, there are plenty of sad country ballads, but just the angle and the perspective on it was a little different. There aren't a ton of those maybe out there. Randy Travis, I had a song recorded on him called Every Head Bowed, and it was a funny, quirky song about this boy in church. And just I hadn't heard another one just like that. Mm-hmm. So it gave him a reason to say yes. I think if all you do is try to give people no reason to say no, you probably make it so safe that you don't give them enough of a compelling reason to say yes. Like
Yep.
not having a reason to say no is not enough reason to say yes, because they got that all day long with their own stuff. So I'm trying to be more kind of fearless in my writing, and because that's kind of what's worked before. Like, oh, okay, yeah, these ones that have actually been cut. Now it's a different thing. Like some artist co-write cuts I've had,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's a different game, because then you're, hey, what do you want to say, and what's going to go over really well live with your audience, and
Yep.
it's a different kind of process. So maybe some of those aren't as like, oh, that's really different, but it's like, yeah, but I wrote it with the artist, and it's what they wanted to say, it's their voice, and fits them, and it's a different thing than if
Yeah.
you're coming from the outside. Then it's got to be like, crap, I don't have one of those. Then it becomes more of a binary choice of, does that slay me or not? Not like, does it slay me? And which one out of the stack of 100 just like it do I want to cut?
Right. Right.
I don't like those odds.
Yeah. I mean, I can say for when I'm writing as an artist with a pro writer, a lot of times people will say, this might be weird. And that's my favorite. I'm like, weird. I want weird. Be
Yeah.
as weird as you possibly can. Because as an artist, I don't want my stuff to be like everybody else's. I want the edges,
Yeah.
because then people grab onto the edges, I think,
Yeah. Well, that's where the handle is, right?
Yeah.
It's on the edge.
I like that.
It's yeah, it's those artists that are the huge ones that are doing something a little different, that have their own lane.
Yeah.
Chesney, when he found the beach, that's when he really came into his own. And it's like Chesney, beach and nostalgia.
Yep.
That's his like lane, and other people cross over into that world, and he can do some other stuff too, but that's kind of his home base, and it's like he owns that. And then you have Garth, which was like life-changing, world-changing ballads, and then just great energy and attitude, and so these Aaron Tippin back in the day was like, he's the working man blue collar. I'm singing songs about working man PhD, and I'm putting that kind of stuff. And so these
Like
artists
Eric Church has his own,
has his own
a lot of Eric Church's stuff, only Eric Church can do.
Like, who
can
else
pull
is
off.
going to do that?
Yeah.
It's like, they're great, but who else is going to sing Kill a Word?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, who else would get away with that?
Yeah.
But it's great.
And that's is that Travis Meadows?
No, I don't think that one's a Travis Meadows thing. I mean, he's written with Eric, but I can't remember who the writers are on Kill a Word. I don't want to say the wrong words, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But there's something I think Eric wrote on, but it's just a different way of saying it.
Yeah.
Same thing with some of it, which I don't think Eric wrote, but Clint Daniels, Bobby Pinson, and maybe Eric, or maybe it's someone else. But some of it's about wisdom, but the way they don't ever say the word wisdom in the song, and just the way they present it is just different, but really cool.
Yeah.
It's like talking about something deep in a very accessible way. Which is, I tell people, we want to be simple, but not simplistic.
Yeah, and which is funny because the perception of popular music these days, country included, is that it's just a bunch of kind of simple songs about the same thing, about drinking beer and this
and tailgates,
and it's like, you're not looking. I mean, a ton of songs are about that. I sing a ton of songs about that because that's real life. And
and people go to a show to have a good time.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I've tried to work on too is, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's an artist, and so he's normally he's on the road a bunch, and we were just talking about the kind of the Nashville bubble when because I'm a writer and I write with writers. Sometimes I write with artists, but write with writers, and you can get in this bubble of like trying to impress other writers and writing for writers and that kind of thing. And but it's like, no, the result we want is to be played in front of thousands of people and have them go nuts over it at a concert. And so I was talking to my buddy about it, and he's like, yeah, he goes, it's crazy. He says, I could play Achy Breaky Heart like 3 times in a row, and people are just going to love it because they want to sing along. Having something they can sing along to, they can grab onto live, and it makes them feel good. And that's changed, some of the way I've written, or at least with with artists, okay, how's this going to go over live? Like, what's something they can sing along with? It can be simple, but that's what they want to do. They want something in general, hold up a beer and sing along with and have a good time. Okay.
Totally.
And that's a different mindset. And of course, there are other songs that kill live that are, The House That Built Me or I Drive Your Truck.
Yep.
It's like coming from the outside, writing those probably gives you a better chance to get cut. Writing with the artist, the simple, fun party stuff, it probably has you a better chance of getting cut too.
Yeah, I have a song that I wrote that is literally 2 chords through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's called "Living the Dream." It's just a fun party song. It literally is like in the chorus, it's like put your hands up, all this stuff, and for the past couple of years,
the choreography.
Yeah. So this is a massive killer tip for anybody who's an artist, okay, or performer. So what I do is when we're playing these big shows or opening for a national act or something or playing a festival, we always put it last in our set, right? So we have the crowd all warmed up, and then I tell them, okay, this is our last song. I'm going to teach you the song, and you're gonna sing along. So before we start the song, I just play the chords of the chorus, and I make a little game out of it. Or we're gonna practice. I do it a couple times, and then I ask my guitar player, "Are they loud enough? Is that good enough?" And he's like, "I think one more time." So before we start the song, now this is like we're opening for Charlie Daniels or something. 95% of the audience does not know who I am, but by the end of that 3-minute song, I've got 5,000 people singing my song. And waving and screaming, because there's a part where I'm like, somebody scream, right in the song. So number one, super simple song. I mean, literally 2 chords, and anybody listening or watching who's a performer, use that trick, man. It's amazing. Yeah. Teach them the little chorus, and then play the full song. And
they want to play along at home, man. That's why they go to a concert and they don't want to hear new stuff. I want to hear my jams, because that's the stuff I want to sing along with and know what's coming. And that's
totally. That's another thing with performers. Just to deviate into performing and stuff, but people that say that they don't want to play cover songs, who are not Dierks Bentley or Garth Brooks, are insane. So many, actually, Dierks Bentley, good example. So many artists built their careers on playing cover songs. Everybody, basically, the Beatles, they were a cover band.
Yeah.
So, but exactly to your point, people, I get, as a songwriter, you want to give people what they want. And as a performer, you want to give people what they want. And what do they want to do? Especially in country music, they want to come, they want to have a beer or two, they want to sing and scream and dance and have a great time. And number one, you need to give them your songs that allow them to do that. And number two, in my opinion, you need to play songs that they already know so that they can do that, and so that they have a great time, and it's a win-win. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, and also I would say since you taught them your song, and you got out 5,000 people or however many singing along doing hand motions, if you don't have somebody recording the crowd so you can use that later, social proof, look at all these people I have singing along with my song, then you're missing the boat.
I'm getting goosebumps because this is a perfect transition into. So I teach people this. I have a course and everything on how to book gigs and explode your music career as an independent artist. And this is one of the things that is my, content is king. So you nailed it on the head. If you don't have your girlfriend or boyfriend, at least with an iPhone, recording that, and to go even deeper, recording that from the proper angles. You might not be playing for 5,000 people. You might be playing for 100. But if you have 10 or 20 people near the front of the stage doing that stuff, you make sure you get the proper angles so you can't see any empty spaces and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, you just kind of shoot from, side stage. You get the artist and you get as much of the crowd as you can. That kind of stuff. Yeah, man, it's I've learned to think a lot more about that just because of the podcast, because of the climb. My co-host on there, Johnny Dwinell, is a music marketer and artist development guy, and so he's worked with his people putting that kind of video content together and stuff. So, I've just heard hours about that kind of stuff from Johnny too. So it's on my radar. So that's something like, you got to be filming that because that's social proof.
Totally.
And
social
look
proof.
How much fun this guy is. Got everybody singing along. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing draws a crowd like a crowd.
That's how I've built my little, career as an independent artist, because I take those and you find something that works and you do it. So I take those and I put that out, and I, put together a promo video that is completely live, with thousands of people singing my songs. And then people see that, and that's the impression. They're like, how the hell does this guy have all these, huge shows and people singing along to his songs? Well, that's how, because if you are smart with your content creation, and of course putting it out, then there's your reputation. It just, and
like you said, 95% of the people have no idea who you are. They show up to see Charlie Daniels, but man, you record that, and it looks like 5,000 people have showed up to see you because they're singing along with your song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what's so exciting. And I wanted, this is a good trend, because I want to talk about your coaching and the podcast. And this is what is awesome about this day and age, with all the crazy shit going on and, crazy stuff. But for us, I see the same thing in you. Like, for me, it's so exciting to be building this career and, learning all of these different things, and then being able to turn around and teach it to people is absolutely awesome. And all these little, seemingly maybe little things, like just like your processes and how you set up your processes, and how you're learning all these things day to day, being a professional songwriter, and then you can turn around and teach those people. That to me is just super exciting that we can do this these days.
It's cool. And, they say, if you want to learn, teach, right? Because you have to put it into words, and you have to think about it and go, well, how should, somebody asked me the other day, and we just recorded a podcast on it that'll drop soon, but it's like, hey, it's an older gentleman that's in the songwriting pro community, and he's like, I begin the feedback that my songs are dated. How do I overcome that? I'm like, okay, well, let's think about this. And well, I'm getting older every day as well, so this applies to me more and more every day, right? As I'm aging, and going, okay, how do you overcome that? How do you keep your songs young when you aren't? But that's making me think about it and go, well, am I applying those things? Or, and so it's helpful to make you think about these things, to teach it, because eventually, like, okay, listen, I'm doing the studying on basically what kind of stuff gets cut and what doesn't. Am I taking my own medicine? Like, am I applying that to myself? No, I'm kind of not. I need to be doing that. It's not just to teach people. So there's that, which helps you stay on it. And because otherwise I may not do as much, breaking down people's songs and different things if I weren't teaching it or sharing it with my community. I might be a little lazier about that, but because I'm doing that, it keeps it front and center for me. The other thing is, like with what I do with Songwriting Pro and The Climb, is we'll interview people. And so it's part of the relationship building for people. Like you and I, this is the most we've talked, right? The context of a podcast. Now, if you'd called me up and said, hey, Brent, can I just... Do you want to talk
for an hour?
For an hour? I'm sorry, dude, no. I mean, not that I got stuff to do, right? And so, I mean... dummy, you know what you're doing. You're like, well, I got a podcast, I got a platform, and then I'm adding value so I can sit down with
I am completely transparent. Half of the reason why I started the podcast is so I could connect with people like you. Absolutely.
get free coaching and relationships. And man, that's part of the value of, but everybody wins because you're providing a platform. Like for me, I have a podcast, so I'd like to grow that. So you're
Yep.
providing a chance for me to get in front of people that otherwise I wouldn't. And it's providing value to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's providing value to you. Everybody wins. It's a beautiful thing.
And
So
what I do is I take the podcast and I send it directly to my email list of all my students for my course.
mhm,
So
great.
all
Yeah.
of those
So it's
people that are
teaching.
very dedicated to
Mhm.
the music business and their own music
Yeah.
business, they get directly exposed to you.
Yeah, and I think it's another way of thinking about it because it's so much relationships. Like songs travel on relationships. If yeah, I think about a boat and a river. Your song is the boat. It can be the most pimped out, like fastest, you know, jet, whatever, Millennium Falcon of a speedboat you can have. But if you don't have relationships, it's a dry riverbed. There's no water. It's not going anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the other end, you can have all the relationships in the world. You can have this big overflowing river. But if your boat's got a bunch of holes in it because your songs aren't that good, your craft isn't there, it's just going to sink. It's not going to go anywhere either. It takes both. And boy, when you have a good fast boat and enough water, a good fast boat and it's really good. It doesn't need a whole lot of water to fly, right? Because
Right.
it's sitting on top of the water. That's how it is. You may not need as many relationships the better you are at your craft, but at the other end of it, like if you're learning your craft and you sink, you sit deeper in the water, you need more relationships to keep moving forward. And so it's kind of finding both those. But yeah, so I do that with Songwriting Pro. It's helping my community, but it's also giving me a reason and a kind of a backdoor to maybe go talk to people that normally I wouldn't be able to get in the room with or chat with for an hour, going, hey, we want to put you on the podcast, or have this event that we're going to bring you in for to teach. And it's just another way of kind of relationship building. And so it all feeds itself, and hopefully both sides of the business grow and help people along the way, and
So
all that good stuff.
so these
So there's
events.
a different way of thinking about it than just going, I have to go about the traditional way of opening doors. There's other ways
Yeah,
these days.
which is like I said, between technology and how just being able to be a podcaster and everything, it's
Mhm.
and being able to have these groups where you're coaching people is just there's a lot of great avenues that you can take advantage of these
Yeah.
days. What was I going to ask? So these events
Mhm.
that you do, they're in Nashville. How do they break
They're
them down?
online. So
Oh,
what
cool.
we'll do, I mean, I've various types of events that we do. Like for the subscriber members of Songwriting Pro, at least every quarter we do a Know the Pro event. So I'll bring on a pro, it might be a producer, a publisher, a hit writer, somebody in the business, and we'll do a big Zoom video conference. And so members, free with their membership, they get to show up, and I usually lead the interview for about the first half hour. Just want to make sure there's certain things I want to cover that I think will be very valuable to the members, and then open up to their questions. So it's just a big Zoom video conference, and they can, and other than that, I just play bouncer and take questions and that kind of stuff. And we record it. It goes into the member area. So it's cool. So that's a thing we do. Some things that we do that are open to everybody is I don't know, just started another one, but play for a publisher. And so
Yeah.
it's something I do every quarter. So bring in a publisher, songs from the Songwriting Pro community, and cull them down to like the 10 I think have the best chance to catch their ear. And then we hop on a Zoom video conference. They get to listen to the song through the bridge. I make sure we listen through the bridge because I'm a writer and I know how important that is. Just listen to the bridge. And then they give their feedback and they get to have a conversation with the writer. And it's all online. So we've had people join us from Scotland, Australia, Nashville, Canada, wherever.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
and so yeah, it's just an opportunity that's like, I can't be in Nashville, meet with these people. Well, yes, you can without being in Nashville. And so we do that, and then everybody who enters a song gets to watch the replay, which is really, I want everybody to come away with something. If you
Yeah.
enter a song, I want you to come away a winner. And so those are so informative because it just recalibrates you. You listen to these songs that are all good songs, and then the publishers, finding things, are going, well, this is why this won't work, or this is why I think this does work. It's so informative. And again, for myself, I just, I get to be a fly on the wall because I don't play any of my songs during that. But just again, hearing the publisher talk about like the Woody Bomar thing I was talking about, going, it's got to be different. It's got to be something they don't already have. And just pounding that in me is good.
Right.
And so it helps my writing, even though, I'm not asking questions or getting my song critiqued or whatever. It keeps your head in the game.
Absolutely. So people from all over the world can join Songwriting Pro.
Yeah, songwritingpro.com, and you go over there. We have member archives or video archives of. We do a jam session every month, which is it's an acronym because again I love acronyms. Stands for Just Ask Me, and so we hop on a Zoom call for an hour, and members just get asked music business songwriting questions, and we record them, throw them in the archives, and so we have years worth of those in there at this point. But there's a place you can go find the climb. Over there, I have a free ebook called Think Like a Pro Songwriter that you can download there. It's on the top toolbar. It says free gift. And so songwritingpro.com is really kind of my home base. So you can find the podcast there, the free gift. You can check out the membership. You can see my blog, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Excellent.
So it keeps me busy.
Excellent. I love it. So, we can wrap up with that. I encourage everyone to go to songwritingpro.com, check it out. And, if you're in Bangladesh or if you're in Australia and you're a songwriter, you can get your songs heard by the pros and by publishers. That's a very extremely valuable thing that just without something like Songwriting Pro, that it would be a pretty tough task to get your songs heard by publishers and songwriting pros. So.
Yeah, it's a chance. I tell people it's a door opener. It's not a deal closer. Mm-hmm. But if you have the song, it's my opinion, that may catch their ear. If they love it, then we've had publishers say, "Hey, you live in town? Come by. Let's drop by. Or next time you're in town, holler at me. Let's And so they get your contact information, and some relationships are starting to be built that way. And
it's a just a baby step, a foot in the door. And my favorite quote by Bob Dylan was, "Once I got my foot in the door of the music business, nobody was getting me out."
Amen to that. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Yeah, this was fantastic, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to come on, and it's songwriting and music business gold. I think a lot of people are gonna be helped by this and have a lot of things that they can take and just use right away, including me. I'm gonna go on number one. I'm gonna buy Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, but I love it.
Are you affiliated with laminated wall calendars?
No. I do not have a laminated wall calendar company, so this is just trying to help y'all out.
There we go. Awesome. All right, so everybody go to songwritingpro.com and check out Mr. Brent Baxter. Thank you again. Just a quick reminder, I want everybody to make sure they subscribe, and also check out The Climb. That is your podcast, right?
Yes, Climb. And you might have to put the dots in between each letter because it is an acronym. So sometimes that helps the search engine find it. But yeah, we're everywhere you can find quality podcasts like this one.
Awesome. Brent Baxter, everybody, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, God bless. I appreciate it.